Imagine being lost, hurt, or confused with no way to talk in the local language. That's where something such as the Say Hi app can come in handy. If you're a Spanish-speaking person trying to talk to me as an English-speaking person, we can now have a conversation simply and efficiently with the tap of a button. Hey, I'm lost. Can you help me? Students across the nation had to quickly go from learning online
Estoy perdido. ¿Puedes ayudarme?
to sitting in lecture halls filled with hundreds of seats, just like this one. This requires that the audio and video on the dash cam be completely unobstructed. Where I'm standing right now is okay, but if I were to move to my right and become obstructed, then the evidence could be thrown out in court. You'll know if your catalytic converter has been stolen when you hear a loud roar coming from beneath your car. If you look underneath, you'll see the headers completely disconnected from the exhaust. After the blood is donated, it'll be sent out to hospitals and used to save lives. It only takes 1 pint to save up to 3 people. Last year, Carolina and Clemson combined to save over 1,500 lives. The show will kick off tomorrow at 9, but you can catch Jordan Rogers here at 10. So Jordan, who you got tomorrow?
You can be mad at me if I don't pick South Carolina?
It's expected.
Tennessee.
For Carolina News, I'm Jake Arnold.
And I'm Jordan Rogers.
College campuses are looking a little different this year. Freshmen are roaming the grounds and classes are back in session. However, some students are being required to move beyond the monitor for the first time in over 2 years.
I feel like it was easy to hide behind the screen in high school. I don't know, I feel like it was kind of more of a joke.
That's Megan Ruff, a freshman nursing major at the University of South Carolina. She's found adjusting to in-person lectures from virtual learning to be a difficult process.
I was able to go back and watch the teachers' lectures, so if I needed help. So now it's kind of I go into class one time and then I have to kind of retain that information by myself.
And Megan isn't the only one. Sabrina McClure, an undergraduate academic advisor, has noticed a trend in post-pandemic students.
There definitely has been more needs in a lot of different areas, not only for academics, thinking about being successful in a class, but also just on a personal level.
Students across the nation had to quickly go from learning online to sitting in lecture halls filled with hundreds of seats, just like this one. University 101 professor Dora Striffler has noticed that students are also having difficulty meeting deadlines.
This group of students I've really had to get on to them and remind them, and maybe that's a part of things, being so used to things being online, they could just turn it in whenever.
And that's not out of the norm for students re-entering the classroom.
But it does make the transition back into the classroom a bit more challenging, having to be somewhere at a certain time or be present in a classroom with a faculty, different from maybe, in my pajamas on my bed.
But for Megan, she won't let the transition hold her back.
It was a big adjustment for me, honestly. It was hard to make friends, and coming from Long Island, a lot of people here are from South Carolina, so it's a little different, but overall it's been good.
For Carolina News, I'm Jake Arnold. The bloodbath between Clemson and South Carolina is underway before the teams even take the field. It's day one in a 5-day battle between schools to see who can save the most lives. Students await rolling up their sleeves to combat a potential winter blood shortage, and the Carolina-Clemson Blood Drive Committee is already putting up points, or pints, against Clemson.
We are going to win this year, hopefully. We're very confident this year.
That's Marilena Parker, president of the Carolina-Clemson Blood Drive. She says that this is the biggest event the organization has put on. But in order for the Gamecocks to take home the trophy, pints need to be donated. Throughout the week, the Red Cross and Blood Connections will count up the number of pints and report them to the Blood Drive Committee. Rolanda Hankins, the American Red Cross District Manager, says that the blood drive isn't all about competition.
One reason is the competition. We like having the competition between the two schools, but the main reason is for the patients in the hospital. We want to have enough blood supply going into the holidays.
After the blood is donated, it'll be sent out to hospitals and used to save lives. It only takes 1 pint to save up to 3 people. Last year, Carolina and Clemson combined to save over 1,500 lives. And this year, without COVID, donation numbers are looking even more promising.
I think things are kind of more back to normal as far as donating. And so far today, we've had a good turnout. People are coming out. It hasn't been as much of a struggle.
To show how easy it is, Marilena allowed us to follow her through the donation process.
You get checked in, you go in, you do your donation. All of the Blood Connections and Red Cross workers are very well trained. They've been doing this for years, so they are a well-oiled machine. And then afterwards you get a free t-shirt.
In Columbia, Jake Arnold, Carolina News. Welcome back to Carolina News. Recently, my catalytic converter was stolen from the underside of my car. I took a look at the recent thefts plaguing Columbia. Imagine my surprise to hear this roar coming from my car. Taking a look underneath confirmed my suspicions. I was the latest victim in a string of catalytic converter thefts, not just at my apartment complex, but in the city of Columbia. Sergeant Erskine Moody told me exactly why the catalytic converter is an easy payday for thieves.
Because of the metals that are in the catalytic converters, they're very sought after, precious metals that that they can get money for.
The number of catalytic converter thefts has increased by 353% nationwide over the last 3 years, according to the National Automobile Dealers Association. Moody added that so far this year, most thefts occurred in dimly lit apartment complex parking lots.
Honestly, it's like anytime somebody steals something, it doesn't really cost them nothing. So they'll take that, turn it into recyclers, and even if they get, $30 or $50 or whatever, it didn't cost them nothing.
Chris Tootin is a co-owner of the Muffler Shop of Columbia. He serviced multiple victims of catalytic converter theft.
We had a bus, a boys club bus that bill ended up being $19,000. It did so much damage.
That price is atypical, though a theft could still cost you anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars. You'll know if your catalytic converter has been stolen when you hear a loud roar coming from beneath your car. If you look underneath, you'll see the headers completely disconnected from the exhaust. Thieves commonly target both low-emission vehicles and vehicles that are higher up off the ground, such as trucks or SUVs. More measures are being taken to combat these thefts and the scrapyards that buy the stolen converters.
You can't just have a catalytic converter by itself. And if you are selling it or possessing it, you have to have licenses to sell those types of metals in those catalytic converters and the catalytic converters themselves. So
getting caught could land the thief up to 3 years in prison for a first offense. However, Tootin doesn't see the problem going away anytime soon.
Because people are stealing them because there's a market for people buying them. So if the buyers were doing it correctly, like from legit places with receipts and stuff like that, then it would cut a lot of this mess out.
And for those of us left without a catalytic converter, it can cost a pretty penny. The quoted price to replace mine was nearly $1,200, covering both parts and labor. Authorities say in order to avoid a theft, you should park in well-lit areas and inscribe your VIN number on the catalytic converter. Aftermarket hardware such as cat clamps are also available to deter thefts.